Breaking news into First Take. Adam Schefter tweeted moments ago, Pete Carroll and the Raiders now have reached an agreement on a 3-year deal with a 4th team option. Another veteran legendary coach has returned. Stephen A., what do you think of Pete Carroll as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders?
I can't sneeze at this. I mean, listen, the man's a Super Bowl champion. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him for having Russell Wilson throw that pass instead of giving the ball to beast mode at the half-yard line. I'll never get over him and Bevell making that decision. But he's obviously an outstanding coach. He was an outstanding coach on the collegiate level. He's an outstanding coach on the pro level. He's experienced. He's young at heart, got a lot of energy. They thought it was time for a change in Seattle, and I don't blame them after how many years was he there? 14 years, I believe. But in the end, what it comes down to is that he does know what he's doing. He does know how to be a head coach and a successful head coach in this league. There's no doubt about that, and the Raiders are in desperate need of that. Somebody experienced that can get things together in Las Vegas, because they certainly have not had that, unfortunately. I was really, really rooting for Antonio Pierce, RC. Got a lot of love for him, but obviously Pete Carroll is far more established, and I think that's what they need in Vegas right now.
Yeah, man, when you think about Pete Carroll, the thing that you think about most is the ultimate player's coach. I mean, guys just love playing for him and alongside of him. Another situation, I mentioned it yesterday on the show, Stephen A., but I think the Las Vegas Raiders, similar to being in Oakland, they need that pulse. They need that understanding of who our team's identity is, and what better coach to give them that or provide that than Pete Carroll.
Well, I think the thing here is, okay, what are we doing? We're trying to create a culture shift in Las Vegas, and not just talking about coming from AP, but what we've seen the last few years with Josh McDaniels before that, and John Gruden before that. You're trying to have something that's established, and now that Tom Brady is a part of making this decision and working through this, he understands that age isn't a deal to him, right? Whereas in Seattle, John Snyder is now moving on to Mike McDonald, a little younger, a little fresher, a new voice. Pete Carroll will be the new voice in Las Vegas. He will be a respected voice in Las Vegas because of all the things that he's already accomplished. But Jason Spiddick, he needs to figure out who's going to be the quarterback of this team, because I don't care if it's Pete Carroll, Newt Rodney, or Bill Belichick. If it's Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell going into this season, you're going to see the same exact thing you saw under Antonio Pierce. I don't feel like he was given the sort of chance and opportunity with those two people. And so now it's, okay, what's the next step for Pete Carroll? When Pete Carroll became the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, they went out and they got Matt Flynn, but they also drafted Russell Wilson. He made the decision that he's going to go Russell Wilson over Matt Flynn, and the rest is history. And so now for Pete Carroll, it's how do I reestablish the identity that Cam Newton is talking about, and also who's going to be my quarterback to lead me through that. And he, Tom Brady, and the new GM are going to have to figure that out.
As you're talking about it, you're saying Pete Carroll and who's going to be my quarterback. Do you think they go after Russell Wilson? It's a natural kind of like what if.
Yeah.
But I just want to remind people, Pete Carroll is probably responsible for the most nastiest defense that this age has probably seen in the Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
Right? If anything else, when you're playing a team, the worst thing that you could know going against that team is that defense going to be biting. So
let me chime in here. I don't think you can go to Russell Wilson if you're Pete Carroll because of how things ended in Seattle for Russell Wilson.
Agreed.
I don't think you can go back to that. I think that's a bad move. That's number one. Number two, to speak to your point about Antonio Pierce, you're talking about a bigger issue, RC. And this is one of the challenges when you're a former player, you're a young coach, and you're given the opportunity. The attitude is be happy with the opportunity you have and leave the decision up to us. And what we lament about as black men, when we will lament about the unfairness of a situation, is when we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, Pete Carroll's going to come in, obviously, deservedly so. Yeah. He'll have cachet and what have you. He's established. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's gone to 2 Super Bowls. He's been in the playoffs on numerous occasions. He's won a national championship. He's done all that he has done. But it doesn't negate the fact that there's a difference between you being able to come in there and play a significant role in making decisions about the level of personnel that you have. And you being an individual, you should be happy you got the damn job. Sit on the side, leave this to us, and then you go out there and work with what we have when you coaching on, work with what we give you when you coaching on Sundays. That's the difference between what Antonio Pierce was dealing with and what Pete Carroll is going to have to deal with. It's going to be a far better situation for Pete Carroll. We know he deserves it based on his resume, but nevertheless, that's the reality, and we would be remiss if we neglected to mention it.
No, listen, absolutely. You look at the start of that season and what Tom Telesco, who was the former GM of the Las Vegas Raiders, decided on going with Gardner Minshew. At best, that was going to be your starter, and that's no way to enter a season. It's the reason Devontae Adams wanted out. It's the reason this offense looked the way it did. And so now you fast forward that to Pete Carroll. The entire organization is in a better situation than it was last year with having someone like Tom Brady, with going out and getting someone that worked under Jason Light at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're already moving in the right direction. But no matter, like I said, who's the GM or who's the coach, the next order of business is who is going to be the quarterback of this team.
In 18 years as the head coach of a National Football League team, Pete Carroll has won a Super Bowl, went to 2 Super Bowls. Record is 170, 120, and 1, which is a 59% winning percentage. And by the way, y'all, it's his 4th team he'll be getting an opportunity to coach. The Jets, the Patriots, the Seahawks, and now this. And oh, by the way, he's older than Bill Belichick.
Yeah. I think the big piece of the Pete Carroll move, though, in my opinion, Cam, Molly, Stephen A., is stability, right? Is a trusted voice. There's been so many different voices in that's been atop the locker room in Las Vegas recently. You need one where we could say, this guy is going to be here. Yeah. You don't want to go into another season and have these players thinking he could be going in a year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to?
I have to say this.
Just say it.
All right. So this move tells me that the Las Vegas Raiders, we don't want no more projects. We don't want no more, hey, let's try this out and let's try this. We know exactly what Pete Carroll's going to bring to the table. Then you start looking at the whole counseling of what did Tom Brady, what his advice, what does he kind of, view this as? And if we're making a decision off of a collective, guys are tired of working with things that may not be the prototypical situation. When you make a hire like Pete Carroll, you already know what you're getting, and this is exactly what we want.
It's a difference between being the potter and having to form the clay and just going to the store and buying the fine china.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
Yeah. So the AFC West now is Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and Pete Carroll. They combined for 20 championships, 8 Super Bowl appearances in that Harbaugh rivalry.
Make a difference today, Molly.
Yeah, I'm trying. Conference championships. Yeah, I'm always trying, RC. Trying to be a good person out here in these streets. Coming up,
bringing it out of his end zone, Isaiah. And all deep in his own territory, he coughs up the football.
That's what it is, baby. That's
and
what
he
it
will
is.
score. Touchdown, Washington. John Bates. Excellent work there to get in on the touchdown run. And Washington has tied the ball game with the extra point still to come. Now it's Hopkins to add the extra point. And with that, his guys take the lead here by a point. Capital and FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. They love their football in this part of the country, and this crowd is ready to go as their guys will match up with the Buffalo Bills. Two teams more than ready to get this one started. And we are underway from FedEx Field. Ball up to the 35 now as they come up on 1st and 10.
pretty decent game. Other quarterbacks, they have a hard time getting past it and often put the ball up for grabs the rest of the ball game.
And a productive gain out to the 14 after starting at the 7. It's a gain of 7. 7 yards the pickup there. 3 yards remain for second down. Fitzpatrick now. Slings this deep from McLaurin. It got his man complete. And all the way down to the 24-yard line. Quite a show of arm strength right there. That was in the air for a long time, and it was on target, too.
And from where we sit, if you had told me that that ball was somehow going to get from point A to point B, I would have told you no way. I mean, that was an absolute cannon shot, and he still dropped it right on the money, too.
And that ball traveling 68 yards in the air, according to Next